President David Granger has termed Guyana's next 10 years as the decade of development. While our country's traditional sectors will continue to grow and thrive, the decade of development is largely owed to Guyana's imminent hydrocarbon sector, the revenues of which will fuel Guyana's sustainable development. This is part one of a three-part mini-series focusing on Guyana's emerging oil and gas sector. This is Government in Action, and we want to make sure that you know all you need to know about First Oil 2020. While Guyana's oil and gas sector seems to be evolving quickly now, Guyana's first discoveries of the black gold date back to the 1750s. According to a press release from Oil Now, the first petroliferous occurrences or indications of oil in Guyana were recorded by Dutch explorers. However, drilling by Nelson Cannon for Guyana's first exploration wells did not begin until the 1900s. Even then, Nelson Cannon drilled only in Winey in 1916 and later on the west coast of Berbice in 1926. The gas and pitch discovered there were used for domestic purposes. The years passed, and many companies from around the world expressed interest in petroleum exploration in Guyana, although many attempts ended with little success. This set the stage for American oil giant Esso Exploration and Production Guyana Limited's, ExxonMobil's, oil and gas exploration in Guyana in 2008, leading to its US $460 million world-class Liza discovery in 2015. The petroleum potential in the Guyana-Suriname Basin continues to baffle industry professionals today. The estimated 13.6 billion barrels of oil and 32 trillion cubic feet of natural gas truly redefines Guyana El Dorado. In his address to Parliament on October 18, 2018, President Granger outlined the mandate for the Department of Energy, which is tasked with the management of Guyana's petroleum sector.
Mr. Speaker, your government is developing the capability to effectively manage the oil and gas sector. We established on the 1st of August 2018 a Department of Energy to ensure that a sound organizational, administrative, legislative, and regulatory framework could be put in place for the management of the sector in accordance with international best practices. The department, whose remit includes renewable energy, has commenced its work. Oil production is expected to begin in 2020 and will be the most transformative economic development in our recent history. Our government is taking steps to ensure that the revenues which accrue from this sector will not be squandered, but instead will be invested strategically in building human and institutional capacity, addressing our infrastructural deficit, and providing economic security for future generations. Our government will ensure that oil revenues are prudently managed for the present and future generations in accordance with our objective of securing the good life for all. We shall do this through a natural resource fund, which will be established before First Oil in 2020.
Dr. Mark Bino, Director of the Department of Energy, has for the past year committed himself to the transparent management of the department. Under his stewardship, the department has conducted several outreaches across Guyana to help Guyanese gain knowledge about the emerging industry.
The department's vision is to optimize the value proposition from the hydrocarbon sector in the Cooperative Republic to allow the country to transition to cleaner, more affordable and reliable energy provisions and a sustainable development pathway. In short, what we are expected to do is to manage the sector in a manner no different from what should be happening in forestry or mining or the water sector or any other. that the benefits that are derived therefrom can be used for the betterment of all Guyana and Guyanese.
Although Guyana has had a long history with oil and gas, the government of Guyana is still relatively new to the management of this sector. Shortly after establishment, the Department of Energy hired oil and gas advisor Mr. Matthew Wilkes to help inform the department's evidence-based decision-making. One major public concern the department has addressed is the importance of a thorough local content policy. Local content in this instance refers to the development of a local workforce that is educated and equipped to confidently function within the oil and gas sector. This particular policy ensures that while the oil industry is dominated by foreign oil exploration companies, Guyanese will still be an integral part of Guyana's oil production.
The local content policy final draft was completed and is to be presented in approximately 2 weeks to the private sector and other relevant stakeholders. Presently, more than 1,100 Guyanese are working with EEPGL and its subcontractors, representing approximately 50% of the workforce within the industry. Additionally, EEPGL is working with the Council for Technical Vocational Education and Training on implementing 2 pilots to build capacity within the technical institutions. Furthermore, since 2015, over $119 million have been spent by the EEPGL and its subcontractors on Guyanese contractors and service providers. The department continues to seek to ensure that the sector is managed in an effective and efficient manner and will spare no effort in ensuring that Guyanese are able to optimize the value from these resources.
A production sharing agreement, or PSA, in the hydrocarbon industry refers to a contractual agreement between the Government of Guyana and an oil exploration company. This agreement governs the amount of extracted oil Guyana will receive from the companies. The department has created a best practice PSA template, which will be used to inform future negotiations. At a press conference held on July 29, 2019, Dr. Bino said that the department stands ready to review the best practice PSA template after a process of thorough consultation. Thus far, the government of Guyana has released the PSAs for ExxonMobil, CGX Energy, and Ratio Energy Limited. Tullow Oil and ExxonMobil have both made offshore oil discoveries, with Tullow recently making its first, while Exxon has made a staggering 13 discoveries since 2015. With these massive oil finds, Guyana eagerly awaits the arrival of the country's first floating production storage and offloading unit, or FPSO, a vessel named Liza Destiny. The FPSO is essentially a large ship capable of storing and processing crude hydrocarbons. First Lady Mrs. Sandra Granger in June of this year commissioned the Liza Destiny before it set sail from Singapore. The FPSO is expected to arrive in Guyana's waters in early September. Her arrival will mark a major milestone on the road to first oil.
In preparation for first oil, as many of you would be aware, the naming ceremony of the Liza Destiny occurred on June 22nd in Singapore. The ship was commissioned by Her Excellency Miss Sandra Granger. The Liza Destiny currently projected to arrive in Guyanese waters in the first week of September of 2019. Now you would note that this is about 2 weeks ahead of initial projections. That's because of the sea conditions, which are pretty favorable. In fact, the latest indications are that the ship had docked in South Africa to change crew and then to proceed on to Port Georgetown. On arrival, the operations will be to moor and anchor the vessel with offshore hookup and startup of water injection lines, production umbilicals, and first oil still being anticipated in Q1 of 2020.
Guyanese, the time is now. In countries around the world, Guyana is quickly becoming known as the place to be. The Department of Energy and the Government of Guyana encourage you to get educated, get involved, and prime yourselves for the start of Guyana's decade of development. We will have more on the arrival of the Liza Destiny FPSO in the coming segments of this mini-series. That's it for Government in Action. I'm Grace Williams. Have a good week.